never surrender.
Throughout the ancient world, we see the symbol of the serpent. Many scholars have been puzzled by the worldwide use of this monolithic symbol. Images of the world serpent can be found from North America all the way around the world to China. Intertwining serpents were a symbol of life and death from Mesopotamia to the distant lands of Mexico. This symbol spread with the gods and from one end of the earth to the other as a result of religious significance to the religion of the Druids. Not only was the symbol of the serpent very important to the Druids, they actually referred to the members of their order as Nadards or Nadreds, meaning adder or serpent priests. In many ancient myths and legends of people of the world, there are tales told of men that had the blood of serpents. In myths from all over the world, you will see that people are half serpent, half human. All of the big name civilizations from the one end of the world to the other share this motive in common. Sometimes these beings will have their head of a serpent on the body of a man, or the head of a man with the serpent legs. In some legends, these people look like a slightly reptilian you and me. In other legends, we have been handed down that there are whole tribes of people that have serpent heritage. Perhaps there is more to this myth than fantasy. In many ancient cultures, the gods and heroes were often depicted as part snake. In the earliest legends of Greece, Cercops, the first king of Athens, was known for being part snake. The meaning of his name might have meant face with a tail. It is said that his top half was that of a man, and his bottom half was a snake. He was known for bringing civilization to the Greek people. In Egypt, the serpent goddess Wadjet was depicted as a woman with the head of a snake. Sobek, the crocodile-headed god of Egypt, should also be linked here as well. In China, Fu Xing and his wife Nuwa are depicted as humans with intertwining serpent torsos. In Mexico, Quetzalcoatl could take the form of a serpent and a man. This is a common motif around the world. In many legends, ancient historians spoke of entire nations of the serpent people. In the Bible and other traditions of Judaism, the serpent people take the form of the sons of Cain. In this tradition, the sons of Cain are primarily represented by the Amalekites, the most fearsome and hated of the enemies of Israel. According to the Bible, they are literal people that have within them the blood of the serpent. In the Hindu religion of India, there is a race of men known as the Nagas. The origin story of the Scythians, also known as the Saka, were described in detail by Herodotus, the Greek historian. The Greeks of Pontus give a different account of Scythia and the country beyond it. According to them, Hercules came into this part of the world, which was then uninhabited. When Hercules reached the country that is now Scythia, the weather was bad and it was bitterly cold, so he drew his lion skin over him and went to sleep. While he slept, the horses which he had unharnessed from his chariot and turned loose to graze mysteriously disappeared. As soon as he awoke, Hercules began to look for them, and roamed all over the country until he came at the last point called Hylia, or the woodland, where in a cave I found a viper maiden. a creature which from the buttocks upwards was a woman, but below then a snake. For a moment he looked at her in astonishment, then asked if she had seen his mares straying around. She replied that they were her own keeping, and promised to return them in one condition, that she lay with her. Hercules complied. The viper woman, however, did not at once give him back the mares, but put off fulfilment of her bargain in order to keep Hercules as long as possible for her love. Though all he wanted himself was to get the horses and go, at least she let him have them, and said, "I kept these horses safe for you when I found them here, and you have given me my reward, for I have 3 sons by you now. Now tell me what I must do with them when they are grown up. Shall I settle the boys here in this country, of which I am the mistress, or send them to you?" When the boys are grown to be men, Hercules answered, "You will not be far wrong if you do what I will tell you now. Whichever of them you find can draw this bow, as I do, and put on this girdle in the way I show you, should be settled in this country. But any of them who have failed to do these things must be sent away. Do this, and you will not only show proper obedience to me, but find happiness for yourself as well." Hercules then strung up one of his bows. Up to that time he always carried 2, and he showed her how to pull on the girdle, and went away. The girdle had a little gold cup for the tongue of his buckle. When the boys grew up, their mother named the eldest Argyriphus, the next Gelonus, and the youngest Syphes, and carried out instructions which she remembered Hercules had given her. 2 of the young men, Augustus and Glanius, failed to accomplish the task assigned to them, which they had foretold, and banished to the country by their mother. But the youngest brother, Syphes, succeeded and allowed to remain. In this way, Syphes, the son of Hercules, became father of the line of Scythian kings, and to this day the Scythians wear belts with little cups attached, in memory of the belts their ancestors Hercules. What Herodotus had to say about the origins of the Scythian nation is very telling indeed. First and most important, he equates the Scythian, Saxons, with being part serpent. Indeed, the matriarch of the Scythians was half snake. The serpent blood is connected by Herodotus to the royal bloodline of the Scythian kings. The Merovingian dynasty, and ancestors of much of today's royal families, was said to be descended from the Merovi, and their legend founder, and a sea beast. This is another tale describing the Scythian royalty as a hybrid species. Furthermore, these men are associated with a particular cup that they all wear on their belt buckles. We have learned that this cup is a symbolic of the blood of the king in the form of the Holy Grail. The blood in the cup stories show up in British Isles today, Arthurian legends. Science has identified this royal bloodline as the blood type O rhesus negative, the universal donor. The symbolic drinking of royal blood ritual has been present in the world religions since far back as 8,000 years ago in the Tel Hafi period of ancient Mesopotamia. Le Grand Zombie is the major serpent spirit of worship among New Orleans voodooists. In New Orleans voodoo, snakes are not seen as a symbol of evil, as they are in the story of Adam and Eve. Snakes are considered to be holders of initiate knowledge, knowing that which cannot be spoken. Women often dance with serpents. Voodoo rituals in New Orleans almost always include a snake dance to celebrate a link to the ancient knowledge. The origins of La Grande Zombe can be traced to the serpent deity Zambe from Africa. Ra was the solar deity, bringer of light, and Apep was viewed as the greatest enemy of Ra, and thus given the name Enemy of Ra, and also Lord of Chaos. As the personification of all that was evil, Apep was seen as a giant snake or serpent, leading to such titles as the Serpent of the Nile and Evil Lizard. Some elaborators said that he stretched for 16 yards in length and had a head made of flint. Tales of Apep's battles against Ra were elaborated during the New Kingdom. Storytellers said that every day Apep must lie below the horizon. This approximately made him part of the underworld. In some stories, Apep waited for Ra in the western mountains called Baku, where the sun set, and in others, Apep lurked before dawn in the 10th region of the night. The wide range of Apep's possible location gained him the title World Encircler. It was throughout that his terrifying roar would cause the underworld to rumble. Myths sometimes say that Apep was trapped there because he had been the previous chief god overthrown by Ra, or because he was evil and had been imprisoned. The Egyptian priests had a detailed guide to fighting Apep, referred to as the Book of Overthrowing Apep, Book of Aposis in Greek. The chapters describe a gradual process of dismemberment and disposal that include spitting upon Apep, defiling Apep with the left foot, taking a lance to smite Apep, fettering Apep, taking a knife to smite Apep, putting a fire on Apep. In addition to stories about Ra's winnings, this guide has instructions for making wax models or small drawings of the serpent, which would be spat on, mutilated and burnt, while reinciting spells that would kill Apep. Fearing that even the image of Apep could give power to the demon, any rendering would always include another deity to subdue the monster. As Apep was thought to live in the underworld, he was sometimes thought of as the eater of souls. Thus the dead also needed protection, so they were sometimes buried with spells that could destroy Apep. The Leviathan of the Book of Job is a reflex of the older Carnate Lothan, a primeval monster defeated by the god Hadgad. Parallels to this role of the Mesopotamian Tiamat defeated by Marduk have been drawn in comparative mythology, as have been wider comparisons to dragon and world serpent narratives such as Indra slaying Vrtra or Thor slaying Jormungandr. In the Hebrew Bible, in Psalms 104, God is praised for having made all things, including Leviathan. In Isaac 27, he called the torturous serpent who will be killed at the end of time. In Greek myth, Typhon was terrible, outrageous and lawless, and his shoulders were 100 snakes' heads, and emitted fire and every kind of noise. Typhon challenged Zeus for rule of the cosmos. Hesiod's Terminology gives the first account of their battle. According to Hesiod, without the quick action of Zeus, Typhon would have come to reign over all mortals and immortals. Defeated, Typhon is cast in Tartarus by the angry Zeus. In the early Vedic religion, Vritra is a serpent or dragon, the personification of drought and adversary of Indra. In Hinduism, Vritra is identified as an asura, He appears as a dragon blocking the course of the rivers and is historically slain by Indra. According to written accounts, Vretra kept the waters of the underworld captive until he was killed by Indra, who destroyed all the 99 fortresses of Vretra. Before liberating the imprisoned rivers. From this feat, Indra became known as Slayer of Vritra and also as Slayer of the Firstborn of the Dragons.